What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of the internet and YouTube? I am FRED-E-FUEGO, the hottest gamer on two thumb pads,
With your boy,
alongside.
the one and only WorkBIRDY, flies gamer on 2 feet. We gonna discuss this PlayStation Pro. Fred's gonna give us the rundown, and we're gonna go off that. Let's get it. Fred, what did you think about the PlayStation Pro?
All right, let's start off by saying that PlayStation did the right thing by announcing the PlayStation Pro, which was codenamed Neo, at a specific event, specifically just for the new hardware. Unlike Xbox did it at what is it, the E3. So they gave themselves a lot of time and wiggle room to adjust and make a good presentation. That being said, we have already seen, me and Birdie's already seen all the hatred that's come through the pipeline. I am not here to cool your hatred. I could care less about your personal opinion, and I'm sure I'm speaking for Birdie when he can, when I say that. But we're just going to talk about the facts, and we're going to talk about what we think and give you
My
our
opinion, solely
opinions.
my opinion only.
And they're just opinions. Yeah, yeah, they're just our opinions. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. We're going to form our opinions based on the facts, not based on other people's opinions.
So, starting off
All
with the
right?
console, the PlayStation 4 Pro specs have been confirmed to be 4.2 teraflops with 8 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM. Now, me personally, I'm going to
Yep.
be picking one of these up on day one, okay? Um, I
Yes.
think that is well over enough to run any game at 1080p 60 frames per second. And it's going to be stretched out to games that are upscaled to 4K. So you're getting a lot in this package.
All your old games. No, well, not all of them. I'm not gonna say all of your old games, but a lot of your old games are gonna have
Um,
patches that will upscale the game and run it at a better frame rate, run it at a, I'm saying, at an upscaled resolution, or use techniques and algorithms to make the game look crisper, run smoother, and just give you a better overall presentation if you have a 4K display or TV and HDR.
and and I think that right there is what you see all of the negative publicity as we scroll down on the web page. You see that it says right here the PlayStation 4 Plus or 4K output upscale is not native. You see it says it's pointless to own a 4K or to own a PS Pro because of its no Blu-ray HD player. These things are sad because you're not buying a PlayStation to pop a movie in and watch it. If you want to watch a movie, I suggest that you would just go to Netflix. A streaming service that's going to give you 4K. There's not even, if that's the case, why don't everybody just throw their TVs away? Because the cable box theoretically can't even give you 4K.
Nah, nah. The only people that does 4K via like some type of cable service is DirecTV, and they've always done 1080p, 60 hertz. And even I have Verizon Fios, which is this fiber optic line, and it's probably the best, internet service in this area. And the only thing that beats Verizon Fios is Google Fiber. And I get, whatever you pay for in download speed, you get in upload speeds, and that's true internet speed. You know what I'm saying? But they only offer at best is 1080p, 1080i, 30 hertz or 60 hertz. Um, so they don't even do 1080p. And that being said, what he's saying is right. Look, we're getting what we pay for. It's only the price of the PlayStation 4 Pro is only $399 US, and that reflects the fact that it doesn't have a 4K UHD Blu-ray player in it. So if you want something like that, you want to get the cheapest Blu-ray player 4K UHD Blu-ray player on the market right now, go out and get yourself the cheapest Xbox One S, and you'll save a couple. You'll save probably like 50, $60 compared to a UHD Blu-ray player that's on the market. The cheapest one that's on the other one that's above that one, which I believe is a Samsung or something like that, and then get yourself the PlayStation PS4 Pro if you want to game in that type of. It has over 2 times the power of the original PlayStation 4. The original PlayStation 4 had 1.87 teraflops. This has 4.2 teraflops. It has the same, basically the same AMD 8-core Jaguar CPU that's going to be overclocked. It has the same 8 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM. It has double the capacity of the storage, which is 1 terabyte instead of the 500 gigabyte that comes in the original PlayStation 4. And then, so you're getting twice as much of pure brute
Let me
force
just go over the
horsepower, right?
specs real
Mark
quick.
Cerny came
What's
out on
in the main
stage.
processor? So you get a
All right.
single chip custom processor. The CPU is a 8664 AMD Jaguar 8-core processor, a GPU that's capable of doing 4.2 teraflops AMD Radeon based graphic engine, 5 gigabytes of or 8 gigabytes of GDDR5 RAM, and you're getting 1 terabyte of a hard drive. That's HDD.
All right, and on top of that, you get super speed USB 3.1 Gen 1 port, three of them. Auxiliary, you get an auxiliary port, you get one. So they got three USB ports in this one. The original PlayStation 4 only had two. All right, so you got that. You got the auxiliary port, which most likely is for the camera. Um, and then the network, it's got a gigabit Ethernet IEEE standard, and then for Wi-Fi you have the 802.11 ABGNAC. Now they went from Bluetooth 2.1 SE to Bluetooth 4.0 LE. That's a big increase because the bandwidth for the Bluetooth has increased tremendously, and that is basically skipping from the 2.1 to the 4.0. That's basically almost 3 generations of Bluetooth that they skipped over. That is impressive to say the least because the bandwidth on the original controllers is minimal in comparison to the Xbox One controller, which they use the WiMAX or something like that. It's like Wi-Fi. It's a Wi-Fi signal that they use, and it has a very big high bandwidth throughput. Um, and then it's got the power consumption. It's only 310 watts, which shows you how much horsepower it actually has because the last power consumption for the PlayStation 4, the original PlayStation 4, was 200 and I believe it was 240 watts. Um, but you're getting twice the power, so the increase isn't really that much, bang for the buck. I mean, power consumption for how much horsepower is underneath the hood. Now that being said, let's look at P bang, power per price point. You know what I'm saying? Power per dollar. The power per dollar. Um, if you were to get a GPU right now, and it would be if I'm not mistaken, the new AMD um, Polaris. It is the 470 or
480.
480. The 480, the AMD 480. It has 5 teraflops, if I'm not mistaken. It has 5 teraflops. It cost about 100 and was it 200 bucks?
250,
Was it $200?
80 around there. Yeah, something. I mean, with tax, you're gonna
Yeah,
be
it's
looking
about
around
200
there.
bucks. It's 200. Yeah, you're talking about 250 bucks. So that's just for the GPU, and then you put in all the other components that you have to buy to on top of the operating system and everything like that. So you're talking about price per performance. You're getting good price per performance. On top of you had Mark Cerny explain to how they're going to be using the the streamlined pipeline for data transfers and everything, for the stream processing units and all that good stuff, to upscale older games and to make older games run and look better on your 4K on your 4K TV. They're not going to be native. It's still going to be 1080p assets at 4K, but they didn't talk about games developed from the ground up for the PS4 Pro. You understand what I'm
And
saying? So those games that are developed from the ground up for the PS4 Pro, you could expect 4K, maybe 30 frames, depending on the game. They did show Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That's going to be the remake or whatever. This it's going to be running at 4K 60 frames on their engine PS4 Pro.
and to touch on that, let's talk about that HDR that they have going on. That's no stranger in the gaming industry as of yeah, I mean the Xbox One S has come out with HDR, so that's something new that we're going to be adapting to. But it was pretty interesting in the conference when Sony started to talk about how all of their older games that's already been out will get a patch and will be HDR enabled. So just talk about that and what you think about the possibilities of HDR on the PlayStation 4, because them releasing a firmware and actually talking about HDR will be enabled on every PlayStation 4. I mean, that's got to be, that's huge
Yeah,
in itself.
that's a game. Oh yeah, that's a game changer right there because HDR is what it is high dynamic range. We all know that. You got it on your iPhones. You got it on your, what I'm saying, when you take a picture on your, your smartphone, your latest smartphone, you have that HDR function, and what it does is turn off the flash, and it takes a couple pictures and meshes them together, one at one type of lighting range, the other one at another type of lighting range, and then it combines them into one picture where it looks really crisp, and you can see, fog really good, you can see, sun flares really good, the yellows are really, rich and vibrant, the blacks are really thick and, black, like space, and like you're looking into a black hole, and so you have that coming to basically every PlayStation. So your original PlayStation is not out of the water. It's gonna benefit from this as well. And if you have one of these 4K HD TVs, you know what I'm saying, and you have that HDR function on there, which not many have HDR10, or they usually have Dolby Vision. That's what came out first, which was popping first, which is a proprietary form of
And
HDR.
that's what my TV
But
actually shipped
you're
with
gonna
is
have
Dolby Vision. So I will be
Dolby Vision.
upgrading in a couple weeks to a HDR TV. And that's solely because I don't want to be behind the curve. You know what I'm saying? As a gamer, you kind of want to stay in the curve or you want to stay before the curve.
Ahead of the
So,
curve or
yeah,
ahead of the
you
curve.
don't want to
Yeah.
be behind the curve because then you start to have things stacking up on you. So I wouldn't advise anyone, if you don't think that you're going to upgrade to a HDR TV by the Christmas season, I would just say hold off. Hold off because there's no reason for you to upgrade right now. But if you know that you're going to buy that brand new shiny HDR 4K TV, then you need to get on the bus and start rolling because this thing is going to pick up. And next thing you know, the PlayStation is going to be here in about 2 months. You're going to need that TV to experience this.
All right. And let's talk about something else. All right. If you're talking about the Scorpio, the Xbox, One Scorpio, Project Scorpio versus the PlayStation 4 Neo, now named PlayStation 4 PS4 Pro, let's talk about that year difference. Let's talk about the
Please talk
price
about the price.
performance.
Please talk
All
about the
right.
price.
Let's talk about that. All right, if they're gonna put a 4K Blu-ray UHD player in there, and they're gonna have 6 teraflops of power, you think that price isn't gonna get trickled down to the customer? You're going out that shit out of your mind. So you're gonna have a $300.99 price point versus whatever the Xbox One is, which is going to be substantially more, at least by $100. At least, at the very least, by $100. I am, you can quote me on this, I am predicting a price point of, for the Xbox One Project Scorpio, at $500 or $499 all the way up to $600. That, you can quote me on that, because that power and that extra hardware is going to have to come out of something. It doesn't, they're not going to eat the cost for you.
They
Xbox has
won't
never
do it.
done that, and they're not going to start to do it. Um, Now that being said, you're going to also have to wait another 12 months to get that. So in another 12 months, I'm going to be buying myself an Xbox One Scorpio and have me a PlayStation 4 Pro and then not miss out on anything. And if you're one of them people that just want to wait, I'm going to be playing my games and enjoying my exclusives that the Xbox One Project Scorpio don't even have no exclusives, because Xbox don't have any exclusives anymore, if I'm not mistaken. So that being said, I have I'm gonna get a PlayStation VR, which is hands down the most comfortablest VR set on the market. Birdie, can I get a chime in on you?
Absolutely. You guys can go check out my video. Now, I happen to own the Oculus Rift and the Vive, guys, and by far the PlayStation was the most comfortablest headset I think I put on. And visually, it was not lacking a lot of performance that you see out of the Vive and the Rift. So, technically speaking, I'm going to have to say that the PlayStation VR with the PlayStation Pro will be on the same, if not the exact same level as a 1080 in VR. And that does a lot, guys. That is a lot, because the PlayStation 4 Pro can double the PlayStation regular GPU power, guys. And these things, the VR headset is
Yeah, they
ran
said.
off of a GPU power base. So I'm thinking that PlayStation is going to pull ahead when it comes to VR, because they've already have the software to actually run their headset, with them shipping with 30 games in the first couple months with VR. I think we're going to see Sony dominate the
Which you don't
market.
even have any real VR games on Oculus, or I mean, you
Not,
have what,
I
maybe a
mean, yeah,
handful,
I mean, yeah,
maybe on
everything
both of those
on,
platforms.
yeah.
Real
I have a
full
lot of games, but
AAA games,
they still feel demo-ish. They feel like they're trying to teach you how to play the game, and yeah,
tech
and you're
demos.
not really
Yes,
getting a full VR experience, so to speak, like you would with a PlayStation VR, because you just put the headset on, you sit down with the controller, and to be honest
you already
with
know
you,
what
I
you're
kind of
doing.
like a VR that you actually sit down and you're comfortable, because there's a whole nother atmosphere when you're walking around with Vive wands and you actually have to move, because then you have to go into a different level of VR where you're immersed in the game and you have to walk around, and that is comfortable. But if you sit down and you put the Vive on and you play GTA with the headset on, you'll get absolutely sick, because you're walking around in GTA, but you're sitting down at home and your brain doesn't know how to react off of that. So, sitting down VR, I would say that's where it's kind of at for me. And you will see a lot more people adapt to that type of VR. But once again, like, the Vive doesn't have comparable games to sit there and say, well, it's out of the race. But I think Sony is going to pull ahead in this issue.
All right, let me chime in on there. Um, when it comes to VR, it's just like when it comes to consoles. What pushes it is software, games. If you don't have no games, you can't play no games. If you don't have AAA titles, hardware selling titles, then that's when, you always going to have that us, the early adopters, the core gamers, the one that's going to buy it regardless to test it out and to run it through its paces, create some YouTube videos, mock it, trash it, put it on a pedestal and talk great about it. You know what I'm saying?
What you
But the
got?
fact of the matter is, the long run, the end game is to get the masses to buy your systems. to buy your devices, to buy your peripherals.
And there's
All right. So
and
that being
another thing
said,
is that Xbox hasn't said anything. I mean, we guess that the Scorpio is gonna partner with the Rift, but
the
that's a whole
Oculus,
nother
yeah,
year that we're looking at, guys. And by the time we see
yeah,
a Scorpio, we're gonna be seeing an NX. So that's a lot
you know
on
what
the
I'm
plate,
saying?
guys.
Yeah,
That's a lot on the plate.
you know what I'm saying? It comes down. No, actually, the NX is coming out before the Scorpio. It comes out March of next year, and the Scorpio comes out in fall of 2017, which is this time right now. So you're talking about September, November launch for the Scorpio, and that gives it about a year behind the PlayStation 4 Pro. Now that being said, um, you have that year of you want to be waiting to get on the train or you want to be on the train going full steam already. You know what I'm saying? You have something that's been developed and been tested for years. You have people playing the PlayStation, the PSVR for years, playing rigs, playing the demos. You know what I'm saying? They got a whole. If you go to the PlayStation Store, they have a slew of PSVR games. I'm going to the PlayStation Store right now and showing you the slew of PSVR games that you could pre-order right now, and they are AAA titles, big names, big developers behind them, lots of money, lots of development time, and lots of
And I
marketing
think that we
behind
should
it.
address this issue. Digital Foundry recently did a video, and they were talking about the Xbox One S, and that it did get a boost in the CPU power, and they overclocked it just a little,
Hmm.
and they played some of the older games on it, and those games, some of them
It still couldn't
they
underperform the PS4.
underperformed, and they probably gained like about 2 frames. Now we're talking about the PlayStation Pro here with double the power of the regular PlayStation 4. You're gonna put a game in that it probably was having some type of laggy issues, and you're going to put this game into your PlayStation Pro and see that this game actually looks, if not runs, exactly like a 4K game should run or does run, because hands down, with that much processing power, playing an older game that they've already developed. And that's one of the things that I like that they showed with Infamous Second Son. It's like they're not even done with the first party games that they had come out. What do you think the order is going to look like in 4K? You know?
The Order 1886. Oh my
You know,
God! Don't even get
what
me started, my
are
dude. Don't even get
I
me
mean
started.
these
So
are and then we
so
have
then
God
you
of
got
War coming out. What is that going to look like
so
in
let's
4K?
talk about Santa Monica Studios. I wanted to say that Santa Monica Studios, God of War, PlayStation 4 Pro. All right, it's got 4.2 teraflops, right? The original PlayStation has 1.87. All right, even the Xbox One S is now pushing, what is it, like 1.42 teraflops, and it's a little bit over the 1.28 that was on the original Xbox One. Um, and raw horsepower. Not only just raw horsepower, but Mark Cerny went on stage. Go watch that. I'm gonna leave a link in the description for that Mark Cerny part where he's talking about being able. He explained in specific detail how they're going to produce 4K natively in the future, where games are actually created for the PlayStation Pro, uh, with that in mind, where they're actually making one for the regular PlayStation, and then they're on top of that creating that 4K version of it, which is in a PC you can play a game and you can play it on lowest settings with low resolution. It's something that it'll know whether he said it'll know the TV that you're running if it can run 4K, and then it'll just download the patch, download the assets, and then just play it in 4K. Bam.
That
It
simple.
the amount of detail. It's not like it was Xbox. Major Nelson came on there and was just spitting. He was spitting some PR jargon. he wasn't spitting PR jargon. He was spitting that analytical, straight to the point, factual. Proof is in the pudding. You can go research.
He's
Like
actually a
he,
genius. Mark Cerny is
you know what I'm
actually
saying?
a walking and
Mark
talking
Cerny.
genius.
Look. I call.
He could have
Look,
invented the fucking light
Mark
bulb if he was
Cerny
born
is
earlier.
balls deep Cerny. All right, that's
Okay.
his name from
Okay.
now on. Balls deep Cerny went on stage, dropped his meat, and was like, "Look at
Wow
it.
at it.
Look at it. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section." You know what I'm saying? So Balls Deep Cerny went on stage and he gave you the analyticals of how they plan to produce these 4K titles in the future by giving you footnotes on how they plan to alleviate which would be considered bottlenecks or hurdles in producing 4K in the future. Okay, we know that the Xbox Scorpio is going to be more powerful than the PlayStation Pro, the PS4 Pro. We know this. They already announced that it's going to be 6
But let me chime
teraflops.
in real quick.
But
But now, gamers, when do you have to say enough power is enough, okay? Because this generation that we've been in, we haven't been seeing 1080p titles, okay? We haven't been seeing them. Battlefield has been 900p,
720p,
700p, 720p.
720p
You know
on
what
the
I'm saying?
on the
So
Xbox. Yeah.
when you get enough power to actually run a game at 1080p, I don't think there is a console war to be had. Because if both consoles have enough power to where they can sustain 1080p 60 frames upscaled to 4K, I don't think you would see a console war because we're dealing with power numbers like this. It's all about, and there's still going to be problems with some of these games that come out. You know, there might be frame rate issues on the Xbox. There might be frame rate issues on the PlayStation. We just don't know yet. But I can guarantee you.
Yeah, we don't like the
But I can
speculate.
guarantee you that the PlayStation Pro will be the best performing system of this generation, solely on the fact that it
Yeah,
has
I
that
would
much
put
power, and we're not gonna see an Xbox until next year. And
next year.
and this is the
And
thing
look,
that's mind
let,
boggling.
let's let's be
The
honest.
the white Xbox One S that I have right here, the white Xbox One S can upscale to 4K, has HDR. But what I go back to is how Digital Foundry tested those games and they didn't gain any performance. What do you think the performance is going to be on a game that comes out
Well,
this Christmas holiday season when you have the PlayStation Pro out running these games at 1080p upscale to 4K, and then you have an Xbox that is running Battlefield at 900p upscale to 4K? Do you really think that they're going to have all of the frames to support that with this type of hardware? They're
yeah,
not. Ladies and gentlemen, they won't.
yeah. That
And
that
that's the
that, that
biggest
that's
issue.
that's the
That's
part.
what everyone needs to
That's the
see.
part where I think I gotta say, look, I judge. I only judge things with facts, and I make my opinions based on facts. And let's just break down the Xbox One from inception to conception to present date moment. All right, they've made more errors than
Then
probably
Timmy
more
went poo poo on
all
himself.
of gaming history. You know what I'm saying? Um, Now let's they're trying to fix their track record right now, and I commend them for it, and I think they can do it. I think they can pull it off. I think they Major Nelson and the their new CEO that's running they're doing good. You know what I'm saying? They're giving off the for the gamer giving off that vibe that they should have gave off from day one. Um, but if they don't have their technical side taking full advantage of their stuff, and remember, their Scorpio, nobody knows exactly what it's gonna run. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's gonna use that SRAM that the Xbox One originally did, and how they're gonna finagle everything. You know what I'm saying? The in and outs. Like the PlayStation 4 Pro is basically an exact architectural schematics of the original PlayStation 4. So they already know what they're doing. It's just more power. Now, the Xbox One Scorpio has a different
290.
semi it's slightly on the same it's on the same family, but the way it's totally put together isn't the same because they're going from GDDR3 to GDDR5. So, that being said, are they going to be able to utilize all that new tech and to interpolate that good into a game so the game runs fundamentally at
I
its
don't know, but
core
I guess we'll
well?
find out next year.
That's that's the question that's yet to be. By the time they if they have any problems, any developers have any problems with that, by the time they get their shit together, Sony would already had a whole year to squeeze every fucking ounce of juice out of their PlayStation 4 Pro and to get the development on point, and Xbox will be a year behind.
And who
And who
knows?
knows?
So
Who knows what they might say? They might drop another PlayStation Vita, like, oh, here's a 1080p PS Vita that runs at the same power as the original Xbox. I mean, the original
So, what are
PlayStation
your
4.
thoughts on
Who knows?
Xbox and PlayStation? As far as do you think that Xbox will be losing money over PlayStation Pro? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh no, I actually think that they can coexist in the industry together. I think that people like me, myself, I'm gonna buy myself a um an Xbox. I'm gonna sell my original Xbox. I'm gonna buy myself an Xbox One S so I could have the UHD 4K Blu-ray player on it with you know what I'm saying, with HDR10, and then I'm gonna have the PlayStation 4 Pro for the gaming. Look, I have Verizon Fios. I use my Xbox One as basically an external Fios box because it has an app on there and lets me watch like 250 channels. So I use that as my cable box in my office without having to actually have a cable box, buy, rent, or lease a cable box from Verizon Fios. Um, so that being said, I'll have that, and then I have what I play most of my games on because I prefer to play PlayStation exclusives. There's some Xbox exclusives that I like to play, and I don't play on Windows. I game my main system is a Mac, so that being said, I could play all the games on the Xbox that I can't play on the PlayStation 4. But most of the games I play are on PlayStation 4 because I have all my friends here and I like all their exclusives. There's not many exclusives that PlayStation makes that I don't like. Um, that being said, I believe they can coexist. And people, like I said, people that have the money to buy both will end up buying both. It's more prevalent for them to buy both with that type of thing where there's hardware that differentiates the two. But I wouldn't buy an Xbox One S over the PlayStation 4 Pro, or I wouldn't buy even an Xbox One Scorpio over a PlayStation Pro for the simple fact that I like the PlayStation exclusives. They can only be played on PlayStation
And that's a big
platforms,
deal.
meaning it doesn't come to PC, it doesn't come to Xbox, it don't go to the Wii, it don't go to the Wii U. It only a true exclusive, only playable on that PS4, PS3 platform.
So, moving on, what do you think about? I'll say, they got a new controller. We've seen the new controller. It has the light bar at the top.
Yep.
I guess there is some little
Mhm.
changes. We got. It looks like we got a new PS camera, and they got a new headset coming out
Yep.
with it also. So, give me your thoughts on that, and
All right.
go over these
All
specs
right.
on the
So let's go.
camera.
Let's run down the specs on the PlayStation
Okay.
4 camera. The camera is CUH-ZCT2 series. It's actually the same price. The same price point. It runs through, I believe, the same connector, the same auxiliary connector that it has. It's a proprietary auxiliary jack. It has six-axis motion sensors, gyroscope, three. You know what I'm saying? The whole. Oh, that's the dual
All
shock
right,
controller.
so here
My
goes the
bad.
camera. The camera is the CUHZEY2, right?
Um, Now, the original camera that came on the PlayStation 4, the PS4 camera, only did 720p times 2. This one actually does 1280 by 800p times 2 at 60 hertz. I mean 60 FPS. The old PS4 camera did 720p at 30 frames, and then 400p, 480 or 400p at 240, and or yeah, it was 240, and then the other one was like 480 FPS. So this one actually has a better uh, sensor, saying the camera sensor, um, and it has the same thing, the four channel
And
microphone
the
array.
cool thing
It's
about
the
it is, I
auxiliary
think,
connector.
the cool thing about it really is that it comes with a vertical stand already. And that's one thing that the PlayStation camera didn't
Yeah,
really come with, I don't think. I think it was just, it wasn't,
no, no,
it
it
did,
did.
but it
It
was
did.
kind of like
It was a camera. It's the
awkward
same.
to
It's the
me.
same.
Yeah.
Flimsy. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same connector. Like if you look at the side view on it, it's pretty much the same thing. It's just the way it connects to the camera instead of it doing the whole. It just clamps it like a hand, like a hand would clamp something. So it makes it look less awkward. Yeah, the last one was, but it had one though. It came with it. Well, at least mine did.
And
So then you
and
have
the
that
camera
that
is
that on there.
$24 just saying right here.
No, US is 59.
Okay. $59.
US is 59,
Oh, the
59
vertical
euros.
stand is 29.
50,
It's
50,
$24.
54 British pounds, 5,980 yen, and that's the camera. And like I said, it comes through the auxiliary jack. That's the vertical stand. Yeah, $24 for the vertical stand. I don't keep my shit vertical. I keep my PS4 actually on some soundproofing. They're like
Uh-huh.
foam, but they're like ridged, so they look like teeth. So it just sits on the tip of it, and it doesn't let nothing. 90% of the place at the bottom of the PlayStation 4 is not touching nothing, so there's a lot of ventilation. It stays real cold, and there's no heat generated from being put on something like glass or anything where it keeps heat underneath it. So my PlayStation 4 tends to run very
And then
cool.
the third thing is we got some platinum wireless headsets coming out. I'm not a real big headset guy when it comes to PlayStation brands. I think the really big brand of the PlayStation headset that I did like was which one was that, Fred? The Elite. Yeah, the
Pulse
Pulse
Elite.
Elite. Now that right there was a really nice headset because I like the fact that you had these rumble on the side of the headset, and you can set them, preset them to different types of games. I think the last game that I actually used those on was The Last of Us, and they had a preset where you could hear and you can just do amazing things with that. And if you got shot, your head would rumble. So when now that I
Yeah,
see
that
these,
immersion.
these platinum wireless headsets, I just don't know why Sony does these types of things, because there's no really cool feature with these that I'm looking at. I just see like, just buy the
Yeah,
PS
but it
Gold.
comes down to what I think. Yeah, I think it comes down to price point. They're $100. You can't get really good
They're
sturdy wireless
159.
headsets
They're
for a
159.
$100. Yeah, oh, they're
Yeah.
159. Yeah, then they're at a different price point. But I think it's because of the materials used because it looks like they got metal in
It
this
did
one.
look like they had some metal
And
in them.
before it was all
It did look
plastic.
like they had some metal in them.
Yeah, I'm looking at the picture right now. It looks like it has
Uh
metal
huh.
band, and it's constructed a little bit different. Um, but on that note, I had the original stereo 7.1 virtual 7.1 headsets from Sony, and they lasted me. As a matter of fact, I gave them to a friend of mine's daughter, which she's almost blind, and she uses them, and they still working to this day. So on that note, you know what I'm saying? Usually it's the entry level headsets, and they work on PC, they work on Macs, they usually can even work on Xbox One via the little 3.5 millimeter jack headphone cable. So you could just hook it right up to your controller and run all the sound through the controller. Um, but that being said, you know, at a the golds are 100.
I
They're a
would go
hundred
with the
bucks.
golds.
So they're a good entry level. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? They're entry level. I think Sony's Sony's marketing is, let's get everybody's money. Let's get the entry level, let's get the mid tier, and let's get the pros. Let's get all of their money. Let's get the people that barely have any money. Let's get their money. Let's get the people that have, the middle class. Let's get their money, and let's get the upper class people's money. You know what I'm saying? So they have a market for everybody. Like, you know, I only got this much money. Let's get that. You know what I'm saying? Oh well, now I got this I got a little bit more money. Let me go for the next. Let me go for the next one above. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Japanese companies work differently than American companies. The way they do business is they go for the long term, and that's the difference between Xbox and PlayStation. Is Xbox is always looking towards the future, and they're not worried about their here and now, because any mistakes they make, they can fix in the future and go for the long. It's the long game. And then you have Xbox, which is very short-sighted and always just worried about the here and now.
My money, money,
And
money.
then, but they're actually changing. Yeah, they're all about getting the money
Now,
right now. I will say this about the PlayStation Network is charging the extra $10 now as of September something. So if you need to get re-get your PlayStation Plus, try to do it before the price increases to $60 instead of 50
I hope
US right now.
that they
Because that $10 will generate PlayStation about 1 billion plus dollars US in annual revenue for the company, given how many PS3s, how many PlayStation Vitas, and how many PS4s have been sold to date, and how many people they said that they have that are subscribers of PlayStation Plus. Um, I want to see them pump that money back into the infrastructure, the bandwidth, and the security of the network, the overall network, because we need less downtime, faster, what I'm saying, faster connection speeds, and we need tighter security on their network, because they are more prevalent to going down than, say, the Xbox
Yes,
Live,
definitely. Especially
network,
during Christmas. Especially during Christmas.
and especially during the holidays. All right. On top of that, they need to instead of they need to take note from Xbox Live, and the games that they give you should be able to be played whether you have PlayStation Plus or not. It should be, no matter what your situation is, you should be able to play the games that they gave you. That's where I tip my hat to Xbox Live. Is no matter when you have Xbox Live and they give you those free games, those are yours forever, as long as you have an
And
internet
that's very
connection.
true. And that is so very true. So,
So I tip my hat to Xbox on that, and hopefully that changes PlayStation's mindset when it comes to their games. Because it's only used as you're only able to use them as you are a member of that subscription plan.
so we do have the PlayStation VR coming out next month. And like I was saying earlier, if you guys aren't planning on buying a PlayStation Pro, I would shy away from buying a VR headset at the moment. You might be one of those people that want to buy their HDR TV, 4K HDR TV. Buy that first, then buy the Pro, then buy the VR, because you don't want to buy the VR and then realize that when the Pro comes out, people are having a better experience on the Pro than you're having on the PlayStation. Because guys, let me tell you, the PlayStation, I played Valkyrie, and that's the game I wanted to demo because I played it on the Oculus, and then I went to the demo station and I demoed that game specifically. And there's a lot of hidden details that you're missing with the regular PlayStation. It still looks good, but you're still missing a lot of details. So keep that in mind, guys. Keep that in mind. Anything else you want to get to?
I will say this though, both these consoles, look, choice and having options is always good. Nobody complains about brand new cell phones coming out every year. People upgrade your cell phone every. Just think about it like that. It's just an upgrade. It's an incremental upgrade, and people tend to shy away from huge leaps and bounds. And all right, going from 1080p to 4K. You know what I'm saying? You want to have your 1080p for a while, and then you want to go to your 4K. You know, ain't nobody going straight from 4K to 8K. There ain't no 8K markets, 8K TVs on the market that are reasonably priced and stuff like that. So these incremental things means that we get to keep that same we're in that same family and we're not being segregated and pushed apart from each other. We're still all playing underneath the same banner. We're running underneath the same crew, the same flag, the same companies, and we don't feel segregated from each other. That is the most important thing. All all these consoles are going to do is just make gaming better. Even if you're playing on a 1080p screen, you're going to get better looking games. You're going to get more solid, probably locked F frames per second, and that just equals into a better gaming experience for all gamers. So people should just stop complaining and be happy that we're getting more options and more things. Nobody's putting a gun in your mouth and telling you to buy anything. Spend your money wherever the fuck you feel like you need to spend your money. Be informed, make educated decisions and educated purchases, and stop basing your opinions on other people's opinions. You should base your opinions on the facts, and it's very easy to get the facts. All you have to do is type in whatever you want to know onto Almighty Google, and Almighty Google will tell you what you want to know. It is the most smartest, dumbest thing on the
Yes.
planet.
Google's a smart motherfucker. Well, I've been your
Dumber than a
host, your
bitch.
commentator. It's me, the one and only WorkBirdie, here with my boy, FRED-E-FUEGO.
FRED-E-FUEGO, Flaming Hot Entertainment, Multiplat Game Trap. That's what we represent. And this has been a vlog or discussion video on the PlayStation 4 Pro.
Make sure you
And
hit him with it.
even from this article, it's, yeah, you
Haters
know what I'm
gonna keep
saying?
on hating.
What y'all need to do is, yeah, I'm going to get to that. Make sure you go check out WorkBirdie at WorkBirdie on Twitter, Twitch, Google Plus, also on YouTube. Go subscribe to his channel. Go tell him Fuego sent you, and make sure you go check out all his videos and stuff like that. Make sure you check out all our social media links are going to be in the description on my channel for his, and we'll make sure we keep you informed and keep this discussion and dialogue going. PlayStation 4 Pro has been announced today, which is Wednesday, September 7th, 2016. It launches on November 10th, 2016. And that's pretty much it, man. You know, tell us what you think about everything we talked about. If we missed any points, any key points that you wanted to hear. It doesn't have it doesn't have a 4K Blu-ray player, but the price shows that it doesn't have that as well. It's only $399 US, and that is quite affordable for almost everybody.
That's it. You heard it here first.
I've been your host. Yup. Flaming Hot Entertainment, Multiplat Game Trap, the people's voice and your favorite average gamer. Peace, love, and hair grease. Haters keep on hating. If you haven't been doing it, you need to get game.
We out of here, bros.